This video is presented by EA Create Network, however I've not received any money for the review of this pack. Only thing I've received is a temporary copy of the pack to review. Also, this is not the final version of the game, so what you're seeing, things may be different when it's released, but I did feel like it was important to still keep in all of the glitches and everything that occurred during my playthrough of it. A, because it's so close to release when I had this pack, and B, I feel like there's a higher chance of these glitches getting fixed if I actually show them, which means that you guys might not encounter them by the time that you get to play with the pack. But anyway, hello hens, very excited to be doing this review today, guys. And without further ado, let's just get straight on into it. So first off, for Create Sim, there are two new traits in Create Sim. There's Horse Lover, which is available from being a child up. This basically does exactly what it says on the tin. You have an easier and better connection to horses. And there's also the Rancher trait, which is available from teen up, which makes you sim enjoy life on the ranch and taking care of your animals and taking part in ranch activities. I thought that the Horse Lover would be the best trait for me. I'm entering my horse girl era apparently, but I actually loved the Rancher trait. One thing about me, babe, I love a freebie, and I found it extremely useful in my gameplay. When I was making nectar, every now and again I would just get a free bottle of nectar just because I was a rancher, and like it really did mount up over time. I will delve into nectar making more when we get to gameplay. But the Rancher trait, I liked her a lot. We also have two new aspirations, which is Championship Rider and Expert Nectar Maker. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Neither of these have levels to progress though, which usually aspirations in The Sims 4, they have 4 different levels and each level increases in difficulty. And this is just one level with a couple of like really long-term goals. And I'm not sure how I feel about this because realistically in my day-to-day gameplay and when I've been playing The Sims 3, The Sims 2, I have preferred these big overarching goals for me to work towards. So I prefer it, but it's in a bit of a juxtaposition with the rest of the aspirations for The Sims 4. I don't know if it feels a bit lazy or if they've just scrapped the idea of multi-level aspirations, which I don't know. I'm unsure on this one. I always find traits and aspirations lacking in The Sims 4. I think it's so difficult to fully encompass all of the traits of a human being with literally only 3 traits available. So if I could pick one thing to have an overhaul on The Sims 4 right now, I would not necessarily do townie makeovers. I would 100% focus on the traits. Those are basically the two new traits and aspirations. I did expect to have, for a child, to have a new horse aspiration because kids go fucking feral for horses. And I feel like it's such a common fixation for kids that I'm really shocked that, like, you know what? I take it back, babe. I'm not shocked that it's focused on adults' experience of horses because it's The Sims 4. She's gonna adult. She got her driver's license last week. Now on to clothing. There's new hairs, 3 new base game hairs. We have hats, earrings, a pair of gloves which did cause clipping issues. A couple of items that I came across did cause clipping issues, so hopefully that will be fixed before it's out. We've got new tops, new bottoms, full outfits, shoes. Same for male and female. And the clothing does feel more evenly weighted in terms of tops. They both have the exact same amount of tops. When it comes to bottoms and full outfits, but I will say I do have nephews, and even in real life, like going out and looking for clothes for them, the exact same thing that happens in The Sims 4 happens in real life. Like there's just not as much selection for masculine clothing. There's shorts and trousers. There's a lot of ranch themed items, obviously, a lot of cowboy themed, which really suits the aesthetic of the pack. But also with this, there's a lot of items that I can already see similarities within game already, specifically cottage living, which makes sense. But I like how they look. I don't know if this is just because I've got a new graphics card, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, but I did think that the quality of the items were really good, especially when compared with like earlier packs in The Sims 4. The quality was nice, but yeah, I do think that you might see some repeats. I do want to point out one touch that I really liked though, and a lot of the items come with a regular swatch, so it does give you the choice for this. We know how I feel about choice, guys. Fucking love choice. But a lot of them also have dirty swatches. I know some people aren't going to like that because I can see comments now being like, why would I want my sim to play in fucking dirty clothes? But for me, love it. And I think a lot of people will like it as well. It makes me feel like my sims actually are taking part in the world around them. It makes me feel like they've actually done something. It just entrenches me in like my gameplay. I really struggle with gameplay in The Sims 4. I have got a lot better at it in recent years with the updates, but even subtle things like this, I can just feel like the thought has went behind it in order to sell the story. Yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing for storytelling and I greatly enjoyed it. The kids generally don't expect much for the younger generations in this. Like there's a couple of items in every age category, a couple of hairs, and when I say a couple of items, that's actually a stretch because toddlers really don't have that much. Kids Oh my God, they really dropped the ball with kids. Kids actually really upset me. Again, talking about like how obsessed kids are with horses and the ability to, again, sell a story through items in Create a Sim and actually really tie the entire thing together through an entire life stage. There's a cute cowboy style, but literally every horse girl that I've ever met, they've all lived and breathed horses their entire life. Like, they are fucking feral for horses. So I was expecting to see a lot of horse merch, if you will. And there wasn't really. Like, some of them are ranch themed, but some of them just look like they could be part of any pack, which disappointed me. These horse items that I was thinking about, they don't have to be these highly stylized items. We already have some horse stuff in base game, but only with pajamas. And this is the type of style I was expecting to see, but in everyday wear. Especially because we have a lot of animals in kids' tops on base game, and there was just not one thing of a horse. Adding a horse really couldn't hurt. Like, we're not Tesco's. Infants do have a cute horse onesie though, and this is kind of what I was expecting more of. This is the type of thing that I really think could have helped sell it. Oh, it would have done so much for gameplay. Now into Create a Horse, which Create a Horse works basically like any other animal in The Sims 4. They've really done well at creating animals in Sims 4. Haven't necessarily been able to apply that to Sims, but there's lots of customization, obviously. We even have more hair colours than Sims, which would be funny if it wasn't so incredibly sad. And honestly, I didn't think I'd be so bothered about what hairstyle my horse could have, but yeah, really slayed with this one. They really did. And in terms of outfits as well, we had a lot of customization. One thing about EA, when it comes to pets, they are absolutely going to kill it with cute outfits. Like, they are really good. And kill it they did, my darlings. Kill it they did. I loved creating horses. And if I'm going to be honest, I found it a chore in The Sims 3. We all know that The Sims 3 is my baby. But I didn't really delve into creating pets much in The Sims 3. I kind of just picked a default one or whatever. Didn't do much, like maybe added a collar. But with this, I actually went into paint mode and I wanted to customize them and really show my horse's personality. It was a really enjoyable experience, and I'm really happy to say that. Apart from, I'm just going to say, the fucking elephant in the room.
Call the police right now.
I wish it was the unicorn in the room, but no, I was stuck with elephants, my darlings. I would have rather you just slapped me, actually. Unicorns don't exist in The Sims 4. New law just dropped. But if you wear the horn, you do get sparkles around you, but no ability. This does feel frustrating, I'm not going to lie. When unicorns were a thing in The Sims 3, and also they came as part of an expansion that didn't solely focus on like horses. I appreciate the nod. You know what would have been better than a nod? Unicorns. Also, wild horses aren't a thing. This one, which also sucks. So maybe that's why they didn't include unicorns. Disappointing though. It's difficult when there's literally a direct comparison with the previous game. And in terms of traits, horses also have 11 new traits, which range from needy to mellow, defiant to friendly, fearful to brave, etc, etc. You get the idea, my darlings. Now onto the world. We have the main center of the world, which is aptly titled Appaloosa Plains. Beautiful reference to The Sims 3. One thing about me, I will always go feral for a reference to a previous game or a different game. And like, yeah, I love it. I'm feral for it. And in the center, there's a nightclub and a bar, which are actually in competition with each other because the nightclub's like, you can come eat a cowboy puck. I mean, not all stick up like those nectar bitches. But they both kind of do the same thing. I don't know. I found that I was like, okay, do you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, the builds are great, but... And then we also have the equestrian center in here and some really pretty shops. And one of the shops you can customize your outfit for. And there also is a grocery store. I only realized when I was getting beef footage for like the pack. Went in and I explored it and it was I actually really enjoyed it. I found the items really quite useful. I loved it. And I'm really happy to see more interactable things throughout the map because we all know how I feel about the Sims 4 maps. Like, she is so stunning that I literally have framed pictures of her in my house. You know what? I'm going to prove it to you. This is a photo I took of Selva Dorada and I had it framed. I'm really happy to see more things being incorporated in the actual world around you. And then we have the equestrian center, which is interactable to the extent that it's a rabbit hole. I mean, it's pretty. Your horses can do things outside of it and it looks good, but the selling point of The Sims 4, let's not forget, was the fact that there was no more rabbit holes. I will focus more on actually like using the equestrian center and my gripes about that when we get to gameplay. And then we also have a park, very suitable for horses, naturally, and the cozy corner starter home. And then on the opposite side, we have Sienna Grove. Love Sienna and her horse Flapjack. And Flapjack and Sienna are actually like the ultimate competition horse championship winner. And she's also the horse trainer, so you'll see her bopping about. And she'll share her indigenous knowledge of horse riding, which is a beautiful segue into the next neighbourhood, Riders Glen. Sienna's brother Umber actually lives here with his wife Junifer and their kid Ren, and then they have 2 horses too. And to honour his native heritage, when their parents passed away, he took over the family ranch. Then we also have the nectar making duo, Marissa Tracy and Danny DeVilla. And then we have 3 empty lots here. One is literally empty, so you can build on it. It's massive. The other two beautiful homes. One's quite modern and then one's like a typical ranch. The builds are really good in this pack. And then finally, we have the last neighbourhood, Galloping Gulch. I think this is my favourite neighbourhood. And this is the trail area of the world, so you can ride your horses there. It's stunning. I do struggle with sets though. I do. That's just something about me. I'm just going to have to accept the fact that I struggle with sets. Doesn't take away from the fact that it's stunning, but I'm always looking for something to do. There is lots of horse training things around this area as well, even around the entire world. So there is stuff to do, I guess. I struggle with sets. But here resides Don Gooseman, the ultimate legend horse rider. He has accolades, and you better believe it. He's retired with his horse Duke, and he lives in a lovely little bungalow. It's really modest, really cute. In my game though, God bless his soul, I was casually walking across the place trying to get to the caves, and unfortunately, he started a barbecue, lit himself on fire, died, and then the Grim Reaper came, but everything was on fire, and he was like, do you know what? How about we keep these good vibes going? And started the bonfire and started roasting marshmallows. The man is an opportunist, and that is why I stand the Grim Reaper. We've also got a rental property as well, and then another starter, which is on a huge lot. Around this area is a hidden cave, and upon those words, you might be thinking, oh, Jesse's going to be pissed at the hidden cave, because I usually think that caves are a bit shit in Sims 4. I actually really enjoyed this cave. I really enjoyed this cave, my guys, and don't get me wrong, I'm just going to say I really do enjoy D&D, so this kind of cave was catered towards me. But I really enjoyed it. I felt like thought had actually went into it instead of just being like, oh, this place is a place, but there's nothing really there. Let's just shut a cave in. And like, I didn't feel like that. I felt like you could tell that the nerdiness of the devs actually came out in the cave and thought was put into it. Different levels of the cave that you have to go, and you have to actually think about what you're doing, and you have to defeat people, but also make sure that you're healing yourself, and you have to work out codes too. It actually made me interact with the world around me, and it was necessary for me to interact with the world around me, because one of them is the door says bar or something, so I had to go and get a sheep and bring the sheep into the cave with me. It felt like a mini quest I could work towards. I love anything that makes me interact with the world and like makes me experience gameplay, and this kind of helped me experience gameplay naturally because I had to go and do something, where a lot of the times I find I'm just stuck on my lot, like, what now? You know? And you get rewards from this as well, and I did find the rewards extremely useful. One of the rewards I got was a death flower, which can be used in nectar making. It was just mutually beneficial. I had to use the game around me to progress into the caves, but the caves also helped me progress into my gameplay, you know, like it helped me acquire things to help me move forward. Also, random bits of information: there are no new collectibles, but there's a new way to collect collectibles, which is through the prairie grass. You can ride your horse around any world, but Sims will only naturally ride horses in this world. There's no unicorns, no wild horses, and overall for lot sizes we have 164 by 64, 150 by 50, 240 by 30, 130 by 30, 5 30 by 20s, 220 by 20s, 120 by 15. So we have 13 lots overall. Willow Creek and Oasis Springs, obviously the base game worlds, they both have 21 lots, but Newcrest has 15. So I'm just including Banana for scale. We do have a big variety in the lot sizes though, which I enjoyed. Now on a build and buy mode. First off, can I just say we can now paint ceilings, which is absolutely fantastic. Cannot paint it under roofing though. Not that this won't ever be a thing. I really hope that it can be, but apparently it's a different beast. And we also have a free camera tool in build and buy mode, which is beautiful. Also, a very important question that I had, and also one of the things I mentioned in my horses video about things that could make it worth an expansion pack: building your own stable. In The Sims 3, it was just a placeable object. And the answer is yes, you can actually build a stable. And I actually really liked how they went about this, because it's technically not even a stable really. The only thing that you need to have is a horse bed, and then you can build around that, and it gives you, just using regular objects like a fence, walls, roofing or whatever, and then it becomes their stable, which I really like what they've done with this, because then you can just have whatever style you want. You could have a super modern one, a fairy tale themed one. You're not really limited by the aesthetic of it. And in terms of horses as well, we also have some training items, but the world is so full of them, honestly, that you probably won't actually need to place any on your house because there's so many around you, which I thought was a nice touch, because a lot of these lots do like teeter on the smaller edge, and these are big training objects. But if you do want to place them, there's barrels and there's jumping. So there's no glorious displays of horses jumping over water while fireworks are going off by the sides. Just a one object thing, which honestly, I just like the wackiness of stuff like that. I find it very Sims, and a bit sad that they're not included in this. And you also can't build a course out of it. In The Sims 3, you could literally make a course, so your horse could run around that. And I get it from a routing perspective, but it's difficult seeing things we could do previously that we can't do anymore in this pack, despite the fact that we're like 14 years on in the future. There is one horse ball, and I know that the Sims team went out to actual ranches to see how horses behave. They put their entire Simacy into understanding horses, but it looks like those horses are doing unholy things to that ball. I feel like I need to look away when that happens. There's also a completely unusable horse trailer, and I see this a lot throughout the world, and like I get the aesthetic and everything, but the one thing about me, babe, I will literally always embrace Delulu. Like the Delulu controls me. If I wouldn't have anxiety if I could think about things rationally. So what am I taking from this? For me, I'm like, they're hinting at cars, and they think that I don't know that they're hinting at cars, but I know they're hinting at cars, where in reality, some poor developer was probably like, it would be cool, trailer. And I'm like, yeah, I know what you are. Yeah, obviously there's ranch themes items. I enjoyed the build and buy overall. We do get some new kitchen counters, which are always a plus. No new fridge or oven though. And the new city that we've got really kind of feels similar to the cottage living pack. And honestly, a lot of items feel similar to items that we've already got. And I think if you don't have packs like cottage living or outdoor retreat, then you'll probably find a lot of new things. But if you do, you'll probably see a lot of repeats. But I think that this is going to be an issue just from here on out, because The Sims 4 is so past its lifespan. The Sims 4 released in 2014 and it's 2023 now. We're way past it. So I feel like there's so much themes, so many themes and so much stuff out there that we are just going to see repeats now. Same with the windows and doors. Like, they're cute, but for some of them, it's like we've already kind of got this style in game. I like what they have to offer, but it's just something to know. And keeping on theme with windows, we only have one new curtain, which I was so pissed off when I was trying to do a build for this, because I loved this curtain. I loved this style of curtain. I thought the swatches were so cute. I thought they were so perfect. But there's only one size curtain, and it doesn't even reach the floor, so you can only really use this curtain on one type of window. Oh my god, like honestly, I loved the style of this curtain, and it was just really frustrating. Like, they went all out on the kitchen counters, but they left me high and dry on the curtains. There's a lot of wood swatches as well. I did really enjoy the wood swatches though. They felt really ranchy. Like, they did sell the theme, do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I've got to give it to them. In terms of objects, I did love the wine cooler storage. Honestly, the wine underdog for me in this pack. Loved it. And these are also modular, so you can kind of pack them together, and then once you pack them together, you can move them together. I really enjoyed it. And you can hover over them to see how filled they are, like how much space you've got left. However, I do wish that you could hover over them to see if there was any ready to be collected. Because, for example, when you make them wine, I ended up having like 100 bottles, and I had to individually click on every single thing to find out if any were moderately aged or finely aged or whatever. So I think it would be a lot better if you could hover over them and see that rather than how many is left, because you can visually also see how many is left. For kids, they have a dollhouse. I don't know whether they'd be happy that it's not another activity table or sad that it's not a new thing for kids. Kids are fucking feral for this type of shit. I know it's ranch themed, but kids can have ranch themed things. Kids could have a new interaction, cops and robbers, you know, rocking horses, skipping rope, good old fashioned toys or something, and instead we have a dollhouse. Oh, we don't I think we don't have to have packs that are just, I mean, obviously I will always take a pack that's fully focused on kids, but we don't always have to have, this is a kids pack, this is a grown-ups pack. We could have packs that just have representation for all ages. You know? Also, there are a lot of gameplay objects in this, but it kind of goes into gameplay, so I'll be talking about them in the gameplay section. Now onto the showstopper, horses. The animations with horses, honestly, very relieved to say that my experience with them, fully seamless. I could really feel like the Sims team spent a lot of time perfecting this because I had zero issues. I found it really easy to use them. I don't think I encountered any routing issues really, apart from one time they came into my house and I was like, absolutely fucking not, get your hooves out. And if anyone gets a glitch, it's me. Like, and I didn't experience any glitches with horses. I do think there was one in the trailer though. Children, teens, adults, and elders can all use horses too, which is great, but you can't teach your child Sims how to ride horses. horses, which that could have been so cute. You can teach your neighbours' kids how to ride horses through the community board, but not your own children. Girl, fuck them kids and fuck you too. You can hover over your horse to see how they're doing, but that's literally the only way that you will be privy to that information, babe, because you cannot control them. I understand that like not being able to control animals is more realistic, but I just don't think that that's the best decision, and that's my opinion. Speaking of needs, if you just completely ignore your horse and the needs go right down, they won't run away or anything, but they will get taken off you. And there's also general interactions with horses as well. Like you can build a relationship with them. You could a normal sim, crack jokes to them, care for them, shout at them, shoo them. You can go for a relaxed, energetic or intense ride. And I don't find it annoying to have a horse on a lot, honestly. I usually get very overwhelmed with animals in Sims games, but having a horse was good. I actually really enjoyed it. But I also did have a ranch hand, which, you know, it would have been easier if I could have controlled my horse. In terms of skills as well, you can open up your horse's profile to see them. They have temperament, agility, jumping and endurance skills. And you can see the value of the horse in this section too, in case you want to sell your horse and make money off them that way. And you can build these skills up yourself, like by doing things in game, racing, barrels, etc. But you can also use the community board to send them to a training session. And there's also horses' needs and everything as well. So you have to teach a foal how to eat hay. You have to give foals milk. Yeah, you have to look after them. You can also take them on holiday if you want to, because they're actual, like, obviously the class is a sim in the household. So yeah. And in terms of competing, I don't know how The Sims 3 managed to deliver a better rabbit hole whilst also not even solely focusing on horses for a pack, but a literal menagerie of other animals. But on the positive side, the equestrian centre is open a lot more than in The Sims 3. Sims 3, I think it was only 5 till 7. In The Sims 4, it's open 7 till 7. So, but the downside of this is that I was not allowed to compete more than once a day. I could with a different horse. I don't know if that's a glitch, but it just kept telling me that there was no available horses on lot. And I think that maybe this is from a realistic standpoint, like you don't want to push your horse too much. But if we're talking realism, like I don't view sitting through a loading screen to go visit my neighbour's house realistic, do you know what I mean? So I found it quite difficult. It's kind of annoying that you can't just go and compete even potentially twice a day, do you know what I mean? And also when you compete in a competition, it doesn't pop up like it did in The Sims 3. There's no excitement, there's no names of the other horses, there's no names of what thing you're even competing in, there's no tenseness. It's just literally a result at the end. Like, I want to gamble. I know when the fun stops stop. I just want to feel the stress of going to broke. I want to take risks and have treacherous journeys. I was let down by that. I mean, don't get me wrong, actually choosing a competition, beautiful. Like, it looked really nice. But it was such a different and quirky touch in The Sims 3 to have that screen come up and like for you to see it. I don't get why they didn't include it in The Sims 4. It would have been so much fun. Also, if you want to acquire a horse but didn't make one in Create a Sim, tough titties if you think that you're going to stumble across a wild horse and tame it. But you can buy a horse from the equestrian centre, or you can rescue a horse as well. And if you already have horses on your lot, you can breed them together and slowly have horses take over the entire game, because literally, why not, babe? But horses aren't the only new animal in this pack. They're the only new animal that the game registers as not being an object. But everybody, look at the sheep and goats, please. The way they walk is actually really cute, I'm not gonna lie.
That's the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
And there's a huge variety of them too. There's so many different colours. And I think it's only for sheep that the different colourways brings in more money for shearing. And I think all goats maybe are the same price. But you can also milk them for money as well. And you can also send them to do chores, which is good, like gardening. There's this connotation in the world that the devil is a goat. Or like goats are synonymous with the devil or something. It's something I see a lot. And I think that may run true, because the amount of glitches that I had with sheep and goats, honestly, like, it was actually worrying. It looked like they were straight out the exorcism with sometimes. And then also sheep and goats don't reproduce with each other either. But I will say, with less sheep and goats on the farm, I had much less glitches. But it's not like I had hundreds of sheep and goats on the farm. I think I had 20, which I feel like is a reasonable amount of sheep and goats to have on a farm. Do you know what I mean? Where when I had 2, I didn't encounter one glitch. So 20, I don't feel like is a huge amount, especially if you're going to have a big farm, you know? And like horses, you can just hover over them and see how they're doing. And again, like horses, you can build a friendship with them, or they can become your enemy. I don't know why you'd want to have beef with a sheep. Do you know what I mean? But you do you. If you want to torment sheep, that is literally your prerogative. And then to take care of these, you may potentially need a ranch hand, which honestly, this is a service absolutely so incredibly beyond helpful, especially if you have a large farm. They make such a difference. They can help with repairs. They can help look after your animals. They can help with gardening. They are amazing when they show up. I didn't fire a single farmhand, but they all just left unexpectedly with no notice, which meant that my sheep kept running away because the farmhand wouldn't fucking turn up. And they would just not even quit of their own accord. The game would just act as if I didn't have a ranch hand in the beginning. I got no notification, so I had to rehire a ranch hand about 6 times throughout my gameplay. And once you do hire a ranch hand, you better be happy with that decision, because if they don't quit by themselves, I cannot fire them. This is another glitch I encountered. I had to fire my ranch hand, just didn't need one. And no, my sim would ring up, put the phone down, and the ranch hand remained. And I tried this like literally about 20 different times. But I did like how you can delegate responsibilities to them. You can click and set it to only animal care or only repairs. So they are great. I just encountered a lot of glitches with them, but I found them really useful. So I hope that these glitches get resolved. And if you do want to hire a ranch hand, you can find how to do that on the community board. We're very used to community boards in The Sims 4 by now, because I've bitched about them a lot, because they're always in some fucking random place across the map, and I always have to go on a wild goose chase to find one. But oh, thank you so much to the Sims team, because it's a placeable object that you can place on your lot. Oh my god, guys, honestly, it made such a difference to me. I found that having this on my lot, I was interacting with the game so much. I was doing so many, guys, I experienced things I've never experienced before in my life. Like, I was so ready and hyped to live. But oh, thank God that it was a placeable object. I found it so usable. You can also find out about residents through the community board, which isn't really finding out about residents. It's just a pop-up screen saying, if you want to find out about residents, these are the residents you should find out about, instead of actually giving me information. Other two they feature are Sienna Grove, the one we've already talked about, and Roberto Crinkletop, the latter of which is a very mysterious man who will be getting his own entire history of, because the lore on him is literally groundbreaking. You can also enter a competition directly, which honestly, because The Sims 4 is not an open world and we had to go to a loading screen to go to the equestrian centre, I actually found it really useful to enter competitions directly, like from my own home. You can also buy or sell new animals and take up some odd jobs, which I was actually really impressed with the odd jobs. They involve actually using your farm, which I really liked. They're dependent on skill and everything too, but if you have a horse, you can take that horse to go haul some cargo. Or if you have sheep, you can put the sheep in your inventory and go like do a kids petting zoo kind of thing. Made me feel like the game was a bit more alive. Obviously, none of them were active. They were all off the lot. And there's also no new career, but I guess owning a ranch is a career in itself. So next up, nectar making. I know that this is Horse Ranch expansion pack. I am a fucking stan for nectar making, the real underdog of the expansion pack for me. And it was something I was completely ambivalent about. I don't even like wine. When I used to go to church, the communion graced my lips. Did not go past it. I hate wine. I did not drink the blood of Christ. I didn't play with nectar making in The Sims 3 at all. I spent such a huge chunk of my time playing with this pack, just playing with the nectar. It's a level 5 skill, and I was like, oh, another level 5 skill, and also another juicing skill that's separate to any other juicing skill. I just feel like, you know, if you're really good at juicing one thing, it should kind of help you in another thing. But anyway, you can buy basic ingredients straight from the nectar maker. But I found the best thing was to buy ingredients and then plant them, so you can kind of have ingredients on you at all times. And there's so many different types. You can literally raise the dead with one type of nectar, but there's also like energy nectar, prairie grass nectar, or also just general nectar like apple and grape. And there's more if you have other packs too. I think Realm of Magic, Vampires and Werewolves. One thing I found really useful and exciting about it, call me a nerd, is that you can just naturally come across things in the wild to further your nectar making. You can harvest prairie grass and you might come across a bottle of nectar to store, or you might come across something to make nectar with. Even especially with the caves, so much nectar making stuff there. And then once you've made the nectar, you can store them in the nectar holders, which I've already talked about this, but one thing I haven't talked about with this, nectar ages faster when placed in a basement, which is such a little detail that I'm so happy that the Sims team added. It takes a long time to age though. It's not fast. It's kind of realistic, but also it's worth waiting for it purely for the money that you can make. I also really enjoyed actually selling nectar and waiting for it to age and everything, because it's tangible, like it's a tangible income, unlike the trendy aspect of high school years, which I loved trendy. Again, that was another underdog of that pack for me. But my one gripe with trendy was that you could just set the price at anything. So it was like, well, what's the point of this? Because I could just set it as $1 million and someone would end up buying it. But this is based, like the money that you make on this is based on the time that you let it age and the skill of your sim. I feel like I've actually worked for the money kind of thing. And nectar can also be drank. Your Sims can actually finally be juiced, and it feels so good. I absolutely love it. Unfortunately, it's not like The Sims 3 Generations, where once they get a little bit juiced, they can dance on tabletops and everything, but they do get moodlets from it. And at first I was like, all right, yeah, fucking moodlet, who's asked about that? But then I got a warning for your moodlet that it was like, they're having a really good time, but they should probably stop drinking now. And I was like, I'm obviously a British babe, like, I do not stop. So I made that bastard binge the fucker, and then he passed out and nearly pissed himself. You know what? I'm realistic. At the end of the day, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to be honest, I fully expected nectar to just be like a random thing that you didn't really have an impact on your Sims, so I like that they included it. Honestly, overall, I was absolutely overwhelmingly impressed with nectar making, and I didn't have any glitches with it, actually. And then also through the community board, you can learn about 2 ranch events. They are cute, and the purpose of them is to raise money for the ranch, and the better that you do, the more money people will donate to you. I didn't have a great time with these. Love the premise of them. Absolutely love the premise of them. Was so sold. So cute. One of them is a kind of petting zoo theme thing where people come around and like feed your animals, stroke your animals or whatever. But this ended up being one of the scariest experiences I've ever experienced in The Sims, because every single sim, horse and sheep and goat was stuck, and reset sim didn't work, nothing worked. Then suddenly my son started working, like he started moving and being workable, and then he stopped, and then he started again. So in that sweet moment, I had to go take him to a community lot and then return home, and then everything worked again, but it did break my game. For the other event, you meant to have people round and engage in cowpoke dancing and cooking food and everything and just vibe, and I couldn't tell you how that event went, because I did make the event and then I couldn't participate in it, because when I hovered over the tasks, it said that each of my Sims was not involved in this event. So I wish I could give you a review on that, but I purely can't. It was literally none of my business, guys. I was actually so shocked. I do like, though, how there's so many options to make money in this expansion pack, because it is very time consuming to care for a ranch. So there's lots of ways that you can do that without your Sim having to go to work full time. And then I've touched on it a bit already, but cowpoke dancing is also a new skill in the game. It has its own dance floor. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would, honestly. I enjoyed the animations of it, but full transparency, I was watching Hannah Montana the movie whilst playing with this pack, so... And then for my final thoughts, I did have a lot of fun with this pack. I really did, and I was fully zoned out playing it for hours. And if you're not a horse girl, I still think that you'll enjoy this pack. I'm not really a horse girl. I think I've got the potential to be, but I'm not. This pack kind of caters to my style, because we've already had the Sims 3 Pets, which focused on so many animals and also did it really well. The feeling of just wanting it to go a bit more, just to delve a bit further in some aspects of this pack was quite evident, especially because we're 12 years on now from the release of the Sims 3 Pets, and just with how much more technology's increased over that time, I expected that the content of this pack would also, like the gameplay of it, would increase. But if anything, I think that's maybe just an overarching sign that anything the Sims 4 releases will ultimately be held back by the fact it's being released on The Sims 4, because she's been out nearly 10 years. The Sims 4, if she was released now, would hopefully be a completely different game, but Project Renee scares me. I think another comparison as well is Cottage Living. It feels very similar to that pack, almost to the extent where it's like these could have merged into one pack. And I know that there's Indigenous representation in this one, and I wouldn't want to take that away. However, I do feel like it could have been a really good idea to kind of have that be a pack on its own, and then really kind of flesh out this representation and have gameplay objects. There was a lot of decorative objects, and I would have liked to have seen those be actual usable objects. Again, I think this is boiling down like a Sims 4 problem of there is so much stuff out for the Sims 4, and it just continues to be pumped out and pumped out and pumped out, that we're going to have this thing of, well, I feel like this already exists. Or I feel like they've already kind of done that kind of thing, you know? If you pardon the pun, are we beating a dead horse?